If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to Why Write. Hi, welcome to Why Write. I'm your host, Angela Grout. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Why Write. I have a guest in the Zoom studio today who is here from Florida, and I have Gianna Ragona-Suarez here. And let me tell you, this woman has traveled all over the world. Right now, she's traveling through Zoom, but she has been in Milan, in Paris, in London. She has studied journalism. She's been to so many places around the world, not only studying as a yoga instructor and a yoga guru, but she's also a fashion designer. Like, I'm telling you, people who write books are just so incredibly talented. So we're going to talk to her today, about a book that she has written that is called Cosmic Readings for the Hatha Yoga, which is right here in front of me. And, the fact that when someone writes a book about something they're passionate about is something that I'm super passionate about sharing, and I want to know why. So I want to welcome to the show Gianna Ragona-Suarez from Florida. You're down at the Villages, right?
That's right. Yes.
Welcome. Thank you for coming on Why Write.
Well, thank you for having me.
So you're retired now, I guess, right? You're not working in journalism. You're not working in fashion, which
Yes.
sounds fabulous. Both of those to me. And and I'm sorry, your husband passed away in 1997. My condolences, but it was something that inspired you to start kind of studying yoga.
Absolutely. Yes. When he died in 97, I was left alone with two small children and no particular talents other than drawing pretty pictures because I was always fashion design, and I was always sketching and drawing. I would go fashion shows and I'd sit there with my tablet and I would draw and sketch. So then I couldn't be on airplanes anymore, going all over the world because my kids were small. I was a widow. So I got a job in a hedge fund in Greenwich, Connecticut, where I was
Oh,
living.
right down the street, kind of from where I am.
Yes, that's right, your neighbor. So, you can imagine how difficult the financial industry is
Right.
with all of the tenseness and all of that going on there. And I needed something for my brain and for my body. So my friend said, why don't you take some yoga classes to calm down? So I did. I started yoga and I went up to what we call the mothership of yoga in Kripalu, Mass.
Yeah,
Up
in
and,
Stockbridge, Mass. Yes. I mean,
uh,
that again is right
and
down the street from me.
oh, good. It's an amazing place.
It's
And we
beautiful.
call it the mothership. So if you're an alien yogi, you want to get to Kripalu as quickly as you can. Anyway, I trained at Kripalu and got my yoga certification. It took me 4 months to get my first 200-hour certification. And once I did that, then I decided that, I needed to read more about the process. And then I went to spend a month in India to learn more.
World traveler for sure.
Yes.
And at what point did you decide that you were going to write a book about this subject as opposed to a memoir about your travels in fashion or a story about something else?
Well, I have three books in the works. One, the biography of my mother, who came to America just as Mussolini announced the war, and she left Italy, came to America, and I was born in America. So that book is kind of flopping around in my brain. I'm at chapter 10 on that book. And then I've written a couple of children's books, and now I'm on book two of the yoga philosophies. And what brought me to write this book is that when I would teach my yoga classes, at the end of class, I always had an affirmative reading so that when the yogis got up from their sleeping position and went out into the cold, dark night of the world, they would have.
I know that very well because I've done hot yoga.
Right.
Hot yoga, you're going into the cold world.
Yes, I even have one of the poems that I wrote about hearing the cars sloshing through the streets outside the yoga studio and then getting up warm from the yoga mat and going out into the world and keeping all that goodness that you've acquired, keeping that inside of you, even with the tumult of the weather and
Yeah.
politics and everything. So I thought that was necessary, and I would read these to my students. Some of them were from writings of Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, other yogis like Baron Baptiste and Rolf Gates, who were all my favorite yoga teachers. Actually, if you think about it, Mother Teresa was a yogi. And
I I have visited Mother Teresa's bedroom in Italy, and I had the honor of kneeling on her kneeler. Let me tell you, it was a surreal moment, but I could just feel that inner peace. And yes, I mean she definitely is a yogi.
yeah, well, these people came along to inspire us
Mhm.
and to lead us towards goodness. So I collected all these things. Then my students would say, "Oh, could I have a copy of what you just read in class?" So I would go on my computer, print it out, and give them a copy the next day. And I thought, why am I doing this? Why don't I just get all of my journals together and start picking out some of the ones that were the favorites of my students and compile that book,
And these
Cosmic Readings?
are stories that you've written. These are inspirational like readings that you would share at the end of class that you actually wrote, not just the Mother Teresa and Dalai Lama ones.
Also, yes, I wrote, I would say maybe 70% of what's in the book, and the other parts of the book are poems and essays that I've gleaned from other people, from other writings like Mother Teresa and how she talks about being forgiving, of other people. That's so important,
Yeah.
um, especially in the stressful times we live in. And the Dalai Lama, who talks about being living in substance, not living superficially, but living in the real substantial part of life and being who you are meant to be. So these, I think, are precious words.
Yes,
So,
I mean, to live your life authentically, um, it can be hard to do sometimes, I mean, there's so
oh,
many outside pressures and fears and anxieties that can prevent you from doing that. And then, of course, there's the reinvention stages that we go through in life where obviously you've had many of these kind of incarnations where, you're a journalist, you're a fashion designer, you're working a hedge fund, and now you're a yoga guru, yoga instructor and an author.
yes,
You
you
wear
know,
many.
it's crazy. They say there's a saying in yoga that your dharma, what you were meant to be, is written in your heart. It's etched on your heart before you were ever born, when you're in the womb. What you were supposed to be is etched on your heart. So when you come to live on this planet, on this plane that we're living in, you already have a predetermined destiny that's been written inside of you. Like you, with all the things you've been through, and that you express it in your writings. And even subconsciously, you don't know why you're doing it, but you continue on that path and you become successful. Those who are not successful are those who deny what is written on their dharma. You know what I'm saying? Does that
Oh,
make
that
sense?
really resonates with me, especially because I just think that there's so many times that when you're doing, I'll use your word, when you're doing what's on your dharma, it flows. It happens naturally. Doors
Yes,
open. You meet people.
without
People,
effort.
yeah, the like as they say, knock and the door will be open. You know, it's like because you're at the right location where you're supposed to be. If you're trying to unlock doors and they're not opening, you're not at the right location where you're supposed to be. So that really does resonate. And
And the other is,
our experiences and put them into the book, which you have certainly done with this because you know you were saying you were a fashion, you know, as a fashion designer, you did all these drawings. When I got this book, I loved all the drawings in there, and I found out you did them all. I don't know if the audience can see this, but you know, this is the kind of book that you know you don't have to read cover to cover. You can just randomly open,
yes,
and
exactly.
you know, you're showing you know a yoga pose, and you actually tell us how to get into this pose, and then
Hmm.
you have you know the beautiful meditative reading that goes along with it. So it's really tied so many of your talents into one thing between your writing and your yoga experience and all of the wisdom you've gathered around the world in all capacities. And then, of course, your art. Like, you know, yeah, you are at the right place.
I'm following my dharma.
Yeah.
You know, each pose, I don't know if you've taken a yoga class lately, but in yoga, we're asked to do the poses, get into the pose, and close your eyes.
Yeah.
And when you close your eyes, you turn inward and you pay attention to what your spine is doing, what your hips are telling you, the rhythm of your breath. So many internal things go on in that internal universe. All you have to do is close your eyes. So, having that little seed of meditation, what to focus on when your eyes are closed, takes it deeper and deeper into your soul. You know what I'm saying? So that the mind and the body connected, coming together is called yoga, yoking together. That's what
Joking.
it's all about. And when I was in the financial industry, I was going crazy. I was making six figures and I was raising two small kids. And I was right off the trading floor, and all these four-letter words going around, and people yelling at each other and slamming things down,
So
depending.
much negativity.
And I said, one day, I said to my boss, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go be a full-time yogi. And he said to me, are you crazy? Are you crazy? You'll never make any money. You'll starve to death. Well, all this stuff. And I said, I have to do it. I have to go. And that's when I bought that yoga studio up on Amelia Island in
I,
Florida.
I know. Talk about a huge leap of faith. I mean, you went to an island and just bought a studio and said, I'm going to do it.
Yes. And yes, I practically starved. I didn't make much money, but I was following my heart and I was doing what I was meant to do. So that was when I started collecting all these writings for my book. And I had a lot of time to meditate and to write.
And all these writings, your handwriting in your journal during your meditation.
Handwriting in my journal.
And
And
then I mean, I as a writer, I know that you get inspired, you know, in your head, especially in those meditative states. And you know, you're writing out a poem or you're writing out, you know, whatever the story is. And then you know, you collect all these scrap pieces of paper, which hopefully is in
yes,
a journal, which could be really nice, but sometimes they're in
yes,
scraps.
all these little bits of papers and things, and I take them and I tape them into the book. Sometimes, if I don't have my journal with me, I write it on the back of a napkin and I tape it into the book.
I love that. Yeah, I used to carry around a little Elmer's glue stick so I could, you know.
Yes, that's what you have to do. Any way you can, get your thoughts on paper. And the wonderful meditative moments in yoga when we would close our eyes gave me the inspiration to write more. So I did my sojourn in India. I was there for about a month. And
What did you call it?
I'm sorry,
Did you call that you did your sojourn?
sojourn,
Oh,
my
I'm sorry.
time,
Yes.
my time in India. And I was able to really come to the land of the soul where yoga started 4,700 years ago at the confluence of the Indus River and the Ganges when they came together. Right there is where yoga started. And I was able to absorb the atmosphere of the land, of the country, the kindness of the Hindus living in next door to the Muslims, living next door to the Catholics, living all these different religions living together peacefully. And I thought that's what the world is about. That's what it's about. That's the way we should be. So for me, it was the real impetus to start keeping all these precious pieces of paper, logging them into my computer and calling it book one. And,
Love it. So you have a file labeled book.
book one, book two, book three,
I have
and
final draft one. No, I have final draft, and then I'll have final draft two, final draft three, final draft four. And it's like, I
and
have all these final drafts. I'm like, I gotta stop using the word final and just write, book being edited on this day or something, because you always go back to tweak things. But you typed them all up, which I find fascinating, because I feel like if I'm writing in my journal and I'm moved to type it up, that's when I start to have a shift saying these words are for someone other than just me.
yes. That's what happens. This shift happens, and it makes you say, could somebody else find value in this? And you know what? It's amazing, Angela, because they do, they need your words. And I believe that the universe puts us in the right place at the right time to give the right information to that person who needed to be with you. You have no idea how many times after class people have come up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, I so needed those words. I'm going through a divorce."
Yeah.
And, and those words helped me, gave me strength, and let me know to have confidence in myself.
Well,
So,
I have a few pages marked in this book too that again do now, because it's like, as you know, so I'm going to share with the audience that I met you and I found out about you through my uncle Bob, Bob
oh
Trask.
yes,
Shout out to
yes,
Bob and Donna, who live in the community that you're in, and they were telling about it, and here there's the five-pointed star, and of course I saw that. I've done yoga, I know what that is, but then you have this whole reading about life changes and how to be resilient, and like that just spoke to me in that moment and still today, because I'm going through this life shifting change.
sure.
I was a florist for 33 years.
Wow,
And now all of a sudden I'm, finding myself kind of pursuing more writing, where this was just a little kind of hobby I was doing. But now, it's like, do I have what it takes to keep writing, or to at least keep sharing with the world that writing is
mhm,
important? So, I totally understand how your students at the end of class could be like, oh, what you just said during that savasana.
Shavasana,
You know,
Shavasana.
yes, you're just laying there in that relaxed state after you've already, you've assessed your body, you've done the poses, and then you're just hearing these words, and what comes in through our ears and our mouth and our eyes become part of us. So like
Yes,
hearing those words that, you were inspired to write and share, again, I can see how someone in the class is going to say, "Can I have a copy of what said?" So now you have this book, which is, I'm going to change something for a little bit, because it's such a great way to, market,
yeah,
for your business. I'm trying to, I feel so bad. I can't remember the name of Yoga Concepts, the name of your studio. So it's
you
like
know
you're
what?
yoga concepts and allowing people to take something home, whether they've been in your class or they've seen you online or on Facebook. Like, you have that extra gift, and there's a lot of business owners out there, regardless if it's yoga or if it's how to look at Ronald McDonald, and writing books about how to make hamburgers, or how to keep your business successful, like Disney. Like, they create these little Bibles so that people can take them home and still have that experience.
Sure, exactly. And for me, it just became tiresome to type all this up each time for another student. So putting it all in a book, and I went to, the Kindle section of Amazon, and they helped me to format and everything like that, and then we got it published. But the thing is that those of us who write, like you and other persons that I've met, have this inner drive to share with the world that we've experienced and that we've come to the conclusion of. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I've been here a long time on this planet. So these things that I've written down are not things that come out of the sky, rather they come from experience,
Yes.
and those experiences that we've had, like the Dalai Lama said the same thing that one of our bishops said. I'm Catholic, you're Catholic. And I remember the bishop saying that people come into your life for a reason. They come into your life to either bring you good, help you to learn, or to take from you. So you want to focus more on the gainers than on the drainers. You know
Ah, I like
what
that. The
I'm saying?
gainers and the drainers. Yep.
The gainers and the drainers. The Dalai Lama said the same thing. That's why I think so many of these words of wisdom are universal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They don't belong to the Hindus, they don't belong to the Catholics, they are universal. And so the Dalai Lama said the same thing. He said, we live in a 10-foot aura. And those who come into our aura come in there for a reason, either to bring you health and move your spirit forward, or to learn and drain from you. So you have to be patient even with the drainers, because
Yeah.
they're there to learn. And we become the teacher. Even if we think we're not capable, there's something we have to give them.
Yeah. No, we
These
all have something that we can share. I mean, that's really one of the reasons why I even started this podcast because, you know, I learn from other people, like, friends and mentors and the whole physicality of watching what someone's doing. I mean, that's how I became a
and
trained
your
florist.
experiences and the experiences.
Yeah,
It,
so I mean, it really is a matter of just knowing that you are where you're supposed to be, and the people that are coming encounter with you are
yeah,
there for a reason.
for a reason, absolutely. And so you do your best, and then the other thing they have said, Buddha said, be awake. Watch what's going on around you. Know what the birds are doing. Notice the clouds in the sky. Notice the work of the ants and notice the attitude of people who are around you. And Moses and Jesus said the same thing. Stay awake, be alert to what is around you. So when you are alert, you become the sponge to pull all that stuff in and then put it on paper and share it. That's what we do.
Yeah, I
And
mean, being a writer definitely, because if you have, that book, Get Out, Dear Baby, Get Out, if you have that story inside of you, as much as we have the free will to say, yes, I'm going to sit down to write it, or, no, I'm not going to, if it keeps coming to you, it's for you to tell. It's yours. It's part of your story. And if we don't share our story, how is it going to help? We're all here to inspire someone. Like you said, Moses, Dalai Lama, Jesus, and, Mother Teresa, all these names that we're naming have all been put here to leave some sort of impact for us.
exactly.
And
And then
why
you,
we have that same goal.
then you and I simply become the conveyors of
Mm.
those messages. If we're lucky enough to have had an experience with each of those great philosophies, then it's up to us to pull it together and offer it to those who have not had that experience. You know, the yogis believe that our consciousness is part of a universal bank. And when we are in meditation, when we pray, we tap into that universal bank. Like sometimes in prayer we say, "Oh dear God, what shall I do?" And then without realizing it, the answer bubbles up sometime from your innards, sometimes from your stomach, sometimes right into the brain. But the answers bubble up because your prayer has been answered. In meditation, it's the same. The Hindus have this meditation period that they dedicate themselves to that gives you clarity and brings you the answers. So that's why we say, be quiet, meditate, and all the answers will appear.
Yeah. I, I've taken many writing classes, and we've had classes where, we'll sit silently, put our hand over our hearts, and it becomes an exercise of observation because, you're closing your eyes and you're like, just observe what's going on around you. Like, do you hear the heat on? Do you hear water dripping? Do you hear, I'm in my home studio, so do I hear the dryer going? You know, take those, do you hear the car driving by? Just to close your eyes and observe the outside, and then to keep your eyes closed, and now observe what's going on in your head. Like, what are you thinking about? Yeah, you thought about the car that drove by. Yes, you're registering the sounds that you're hearing, but what are you hearing inside you? And it really ends up being a very good writing exercise because, then afterwards we sit down and we have to write how we started, write down what were the outside sounds you heard, what were the inside sounds, how did, you end up going into that reflection because, once you pick up that pen, and even on days where, I have had those writer's block. I mean, I'll just start writing and be like, I don't want to write today. I don't know what I'm going to write today. And I'm writing those words. And then next thing you know, the pen starts flowing and what I wanted to say
I,
comes out.
yes, exactly. The pen goes by itself. And so we call that the work of the Holy Spirit coming through you. I don't know, the Hindis may call it something else, but for me, the Holy Spirit works in a way that it takes you without you having to think about it. When you open the space, but the problem is to give the Holy Spirit or the universe the space to work through you. Now, here in the villages where I live, it's the best gift because I've joined a group called WLOV, Writers League of the Villages.
Ah,
Oh, they're so great. So they get together and we either critique each other's books or we help each other how to market or we support each other. When a new book is coming out, we all go to Barnes and Noble, we have coffee, we pick up a copy of the
oh, I
book.
love WLOV.
Yeah, WLOV, Writers League of the Villages. And we're very active in helping each other to bring, and you wouldn't believe some of the stories that come forth.
Oh,
These people they're all older people, so they're all highly experienced. And the way they write and give their experiences takes you to another level.
yeah.
So being part of that encourages me to sit down at my computer and to write. Yes. And
So,
I'm on chapter 10 of my mother's biography about how tumultuous the time was during Second World War. So like you, I feel that in the womb, when I was in the womb, and my mother was going through these emotional upheavals, coming to America, trying to get out of Italy before she was incarcerated because she's an American. Uh, all of this lives in my DNA. So for me, I feel my obligation is to write down my mother's emotions when what she was going. And you know what it's called? The working title of my book is Memoirs from the Womb.
oh, so I have one that I started called From the Womb to the Tomb.
Oh, there you go.
And really, I mean, it is about the DNA. I mean, now that you said it, it's the DNA inside you because, I started a story 20 years ago with my Uncle Bob's daughter. She was reading it as I was writing it. She's taking the pages from me. I go, she goes, where's the next page? I go, I haven't written it yet. But my family on one side is, Canadian French, the other side's Italian. And it was really the story of, them coming from Italy and how, they got here, because it is part of my DNA to know that, my great grandfather came to America as a Mason, but left his wife and children in Italy before, as he set up home here for them. And then, the journey of coming and, just writing the letter writing back and forth back then,
Sure,
and
sure.
it
So
is, like you said, it's part of your DNA, and it's something that, we
it,
want to kind of get out of us so that we can be authentic to who we are, but we still have to authentically hold the stories that are
well,
us, that have made us.
well, I believe this. During sunset hours, if you go, I don't know about you in Massachusetts, but here we see there's that one moment when the sun is setting and the earth turns a golden color.
Yeah, that
Everything
horizon.
turns golden. The birds in the trees stop singing. The little ants crawling along the ground stop. Everything in the world stops. And that's called, in Hindu, it's called Brahma Murta. Brahma Murta. We Catholics call it Vespers.
Yes, yes. Yes,
You know,
yeah.
it's that holy hour. There's that time
Mm,
when it is believed that God talks to his creation. And
mm,
it's at that moment when inspiration comes to those of us who are creative. If you
mm.
play the violin, that's when you play your best. If you're a writer, you should start writing at Brahma Murta. It's that moment that this massive creative energy comes to all of us.
Yeah.
And I learned that in India. I mean, I felt it, but it was never clarified to me until I went on my Indian journey.
So a lot of the readings in your book are from the Indian journey. It-
Yes,
Journey to India. I shouldn't say
my
Indian journey.
journey to India.
And,
Yes.
you know, one of the things I'll say about this book is I've taken a lot of yoga classes, and I know, yoga instructors will bring in books to read, reading from that they have written. I mean, you've made a complete, yoga book for instructors. Like whether, especially if for like the Zen teachers, like when you're in those yoga Zen positions and you're holding them for a long period of time, like these are great readings you know, to be heard by, the yogis. And, I love that it's, 52. Did you know it was going to be 52? Did you pick it for 52 weeks? What was
I
the,
have, oh, so many hundreds of readings, but I picked 52, one for each week of the year. And thinking that that week you'll ponder that reading in all your yoga poses, that going through that week, keep that reading or pieces of the reading in the back of your mind so that it becomes clear and it becomes part of your DNA. So that's why I picked 52. But in my new book that I'm working on, I have a lot more. I'll have a lot more than
oh,
50.
look at the Reiki symbol on there.
This is the Om symbol,
Yep.
the symbol of Om. This is the consciousness of the universe on the top. And this is us human beings. And then this is the earth that we live on. So it brings together the universe, the person, and the planet on which we live, and that we're all part of one. And when we chant Om, our hearts synchronize with everybody in the room.
And it's not
Now,
No, oh, let me think about this. No, it's because
the
it's home,
universe,
all in our home space.
yes, the University of Gothenburg in Sweden did a test. They took the choir of 100 100 singers in the choir, and they put heart monitors on each one of them. And the hearts were all beating at different paces. But the minute the choral leader lifted his baton and ask them to begin singing all the heartbeats coordinated and beat
Nice.
at the same rhythm. And at the end of yoga class, that's what happens. People walk in, they're chatting, they're having an argument with their husband, this and that, and there's such disparity going on. They sit down, they take the yoga class, they go through Shavasana, they wake up from Shavasana, their hearts are peaceful. We chant Om, and all the heartbeats synchronize. I
I
have
love.
an explanation of that in the back of the book.
I was gonna say, I feel like I kind of read that in here too.
Yes,
Right here on the Om page.
yes, it's
Yeah, I
why
mean,
we chant
it's
Om.
beautiful. And, like, I think some people, they get scared of certain terms, whether it's the word Reiki or the word Hinduism or yoga. And like you said, like, it's all, the meditation is prayer. It's the energy that we're putting in and taking out. And like, as a Catholic, you enter church, you're doing the sign of the cross. Before you pray, you're before and after you're doing that. So in this yogi world, I mean, to center yourself, and I still end up doing the sign of the cross because I'm Catholic, and it's just a habit for me. But it is that, like, oh moment where, like, okay, nothing's going to interrupt this moment where I have to, just reconnect with myself and the earth and everything. Um,
Well, think
uh,
about this, Angela. Think about this for a moment. We Christians have Amen. The Muslims have Salam, right? The Israelis have Shalom. We have all of these. If you close your eyes and you listen when you chant either Amen, Shalom, or Salam, it comes from the heart. The vibration happens here. This is the vibratory field of goodness.
I want everyone to take Jonah home. You tell them where they can get a copy of your book and find out information about you, because taking this book is like having you right by our side for inspiration, for meditation, and for a physical workout too.
Yeah.
And they can do one pose a week for a year.
Yes. Well, for a week anyway.
Yeah, for a week. So yes. So where can they get your book, that, Cosmic Readings for Hatha Yoga? 52 poses.
Yes, the 52 essential poses of yoga that everyone should know, even if you're not a yogi. They can get my book on Amazon.com. It's
Yep.
on Amazon in both black and white and color. The color version is more inspirational, but it's $4 more.
Well, that's okay. And they're your drawings, so I'm sure it's beautiful.
That's
I do
right.
have the black and white, but I'd love to see some of the color. Well,
Yes.
Donna, thank you so much, Donna, for coming on the show
Oh, thank
today. I
you.
mean, this has just been such a peaceful
Uh,
and loving and inspirational talk, not just about you writing this book, but definitely the why you've written this book has certainly been answered. And I think the why everybody should be having a copy of this has been answered too. So thank you so much. I
thank
look forward
you.
to finding out about your next book and about the memoir that you're doing on your mother. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. And thanks to Bob Trask.
Yes, thank you, Uncle Bob and Aunt Donna. And I love my family and I love my audience. So thank you for tuning into this episode of Why Write. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel or look us up on Amazon, Apple, or on Spotify, or whatever other channels are out there. And if you're watching this on your local programming, I want to thank the local cable networks for showing this show. And at this time of the show, because you're watching the show because you have a story inside of you, I want to give you a little writing prompt. So, when the show is over, set your timer for like. So we were just talking about the prompt you were going to do at the end of this show, and then all of a sudden, Gianna disappeared. So she's back down in the villages in Florida, and it was such a pleasure to have her on the show today with the cosmic reading for Hatha Yoga, 52 essential yoga poses. I'm telling you, this is a great book, but more importantly, it's been a great show talking about, why writers should be writing and how inspiration comes, and, just being authentic to your voice, to your stories, and sharing it, because we all have a message to share in the world, which is why right now you're going to start that writing prompt. So again, set your timer for about 10 minutes. And when the show comes off, I want you to first put your pen on the paper. Just leave it there. Put your hands over your heart. Close your eyes and just take 3 nice deep breaths. And then I just want you for like 1 minute to, as we were talking about in the show, listen to your surroundings outside of you. Try to list 3 or 4 things that you're hearing and just make a mental note of it. And then start thinking about what's inside. Think about, okay, are you sitting in a chair? Is your butt sore from sitting? Does your back hurt today? Do you need a tissue? Things like that. Just, make a few things and then take a couple more deep breaths. And then I want you to pick up that pen and I want you just to write down things that you've heard inside and outside, and then just talk about what they mean to you and let your pen start flowing, because you're going to hear your own authentic voice coming through and you're going to find out maybe a message that's just for you. So thank you for tuning in to yWrite. I am your host, Angela Grout. I'm so happy to host this program every week and meet such wonderful and inspiring and intelligent and talented people. We all are. So, if you've written a story, or if you've written something and, you want to be a guest on the show, please contact me. Again, thank you so much for subscribing to the yWrite podcast on YouTube or Apple or Amazon or Spotify, and for tuning in each week, or maybe even clicking on another link after the show to watch another one. So thank you. I will see you next time. Bye.